Hello and welcome back to this channel. I'm kind of excited to do the video that I have planned for today, but it's also a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but that's okay. That's where you grow. So today I'm going to be doing the booktube newbie tag where I answer a few questions about myself, intro myself, and just share a little bit about why I'm here and what the heck I'm doing. I tend to get vulnerability hangovers after I talk about myself too much, but I thought it would be fun and it's high time to share a little bit about myself and how I got here. And it is fun to think about it and reflect now that I've been making videos for a couple of months to kind of look back and think about the reasons that I started and what I like about it and my journey so far. So let's just go ahead and get started. So the first question in this tag is, why did you start this channel? And I started this channel for a few reasons. It was something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I used to post my books that I would read on Instagram and connect with people in that way, which was amazing. But I think that just like shorter form content and talking about books is not my favorite way to consume or create because it makes things feel much more simplified. And so much goes into writing and reading, and there's so much more nuance that I feel is better shared through long form content. So I've always wanted to have a platform where I could talk about books and build a little bit of a community and a safe space with people. So that was my goal, and I really love the creativity aspect of it. It's always been really important for me to have a hobby that's creative or multiple hobbies that are creative because I feel like it just truly is so good for your brain and your soul to be creative, and I've had the opportunity to do that with this channel. This is the type of content that I'm drawn to, and I think that I'm drawn to it because it feels very personal when I watch someone's video of them talking about books or what they're doing day to day. It just feels like I'm hanging out with a friend, and I love that feeling, especially in your 20s when, if you are in a similar situation to me, just kind of like starting out in your career, it can be lonely from time to time, and I think that any sort of connection that you can find in person is preferable, but digital, you know, we do what we can. And I also love to learn, and there's just a lot to learn about YouTube creative side, on the editing side, on the marketing side, and I feel like I've already learned so much just through these past few months. And then I've learned more about the books that I'm reading because it's forced me to think deeper as I'm reading and reflect more as I'm preparing for videos. So that was what I was really excited about for starting this channel, was just the learning opportunity, because that's just kind of what keeps life feeling fun and engaging and exciting to me, is having things that I am thinking about or learning about, and if they're creative and if I'm engaged, it's even better. So I wanted to learn about YouTube, try it out. And there's just, again, so many things that you do, like preparing, recording, editing, uploading, sharing, and it's just a great opportunity to learn, be vulnerable, and chat and have fun. The second question is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to booktube? Which I feel like is the hardest question because of the kind of school of thought that there's no such thing as an original thought. And while I do agree with that, I feel like everyone's voice is unique to them. So I'm bringing my own unique perspectives and taste in books. I'm bringing some adorable pets. I'm bringing a fun aesthetic, hopefully, because I love different people's aesthetics and seeing people's senses of style and all of that. Like when I'm watching vlogs and YouTube channels and looking at thumbnails, there's just endless options for creativity. So bringing some of that. I also feel like I am great at recommending books. I feel like I'm really good at getting to know someone's reading taste and finding something really curated. So I'm super excited to have the opportunity to recommend books, and I have a fun video that is something that I'm working on kind of in that vein, so stay tuned. And then I also have a full-time job, and I feel like I always personally relate to content around books and everything else when it's coming from people that have a full-time job. I love booktubers that do that as their full-time job. I think that's amazing too, but it just brings a degree of relatability to it for me when it's someone that went to work and is now reading after work versus someone that reads for their job. I'm definitely bringing that like busy full-time job that has nothing to do with reading fiction but still makes time for hobbies to this channel. And I'm excited to share more about like how to fit reading in and how I go about making sure that I have time and space for my hobbies, because that's just something that's always been really important to me and something that I feel like I'm pretty good at creating. So I'm excited to share more of that and hopefully help people find balance, because that is what life is all about. The third question for this tag is, what are you most excited about for this new channel? And kind of touched on this in question 2, but I'm most excited to learn. I don't really have a goal as far as subscribers or engagement, only to truly learn how to make good content, to be creative, and then to connect with people, whether that's one person or thousands of people. The fourth question is, why do you love reading? And that is a question that I could sit and talk about for hours and hours and hours. I love reading because I love stories, as most people do. Even if you don't love reading, I can pretty much guarantee you, if you're a human being, you love stories. I love the escapism that a book provides. I feel like it's more escapist and you get more into the journey than you do in something like a movie, because you're really just ingrained in it. I love that it makes me feel more imaginative and use my imagination more, because I am a visual person and it helps me kind of develop my imagination, and I love that. I love giving my eyes a break from the screen and being in a book. Again, love to learn, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from both fiction and nonfiction books. And it's just something that it's a hobby that I feel like I've had for a long time, that I have never gotten bored of, and it's never felt negative. It's just always been a positive addition to my life. And for that to be consistent throughout years and years just really speaks to how amazing reading is. And I truly think that there's something for everyone, so I love that about it as well. The fifth question is, what book or series got you into reading? And books are some of my most vivid memories of my childhood. The first chapter book that I ever read was Little House on the Prairie, and I remember being, I think in like kindergarten or first grade, and learning how to read, and then just thinking like, okay, if I can read a short picture book, I can read a longer book. It's just gonna take me longer. Logical little girl. And I might have the timeline wrong. I might be giving myself too much credit, but I do remember Little House on the Prairie was one of the first books that I ever read, and I was obsessed. I literally had like Little House on the Prairie outfits that my aunt made for me. They're still in my mom's house. So really cute memories. I read as a child and as an early adolescent, I would say, and then kind of fell out of my love for reading when it came to high school English class. And I remember I had a vivid memory of getting chastised for reading ahead in The Giver, and then also just having conversations like in discussions in English class and sharing my ideas and my thoughts about the books. And my English teacher, specifically one of my high school English teachers, would always I would say, this is what I think. And obviously reading's so subjective, and he would just kind of tear down my ideas. I remember that happening, and that kind of made me fall out of love with reading until about 2021, when I set a goal to read a certain number of books and just fell back head over heels in love with reading. So I feel like it's one of those things that people fall out of when it comes to secondary education, but I'm happy that I got back into it. And if you fell out of love with it, I am here to help you get back into it, because I'm so passionate about that. Sixth question in this is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And I would ask them, it's hard because I feel like a lot of the questions that I would ask them, they've created content about, which is amazing. But I think I would probably just ask them for advice and ask them what they wish they knew when they were starting out on booktube. And then I would, of course, ask for very personalized book recommendations. I would share my taste and ask them to recommend me a book. And then I would ask for feedback, because I just feel like feedback is so valuable and definitely is the quickest way to grow and learn. So that's something that I'm always seeking, just so that I know that I don't have any blind spots. So that's definitely the questions that I would ask them. But honestly, I would just love to have chats, and I would like to ask them, especially if they have any favorite books that I didn't like, or if they liked any books I didn't, I would love to like open dialogue about those two things, because it's so interesting to talk to people that love the things that you didn't like, or that have totally opposite tastes as you. Seventh question, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Definitely time, because there's just not enough time in the day, and creating a video, thinking of the idea, organizing my ideas, recording and then editing and then making all the thumbnails and everything like that just takes so long, which I've fallen very in love with the process of it, but it definitely takes so much time. And if I had it my way, I'd be able to make like multiple videos a week because I just keep having ideas, but I truly just don't have enough time in the day to do everything that I want to do and continue to read. That's the caveat, right? Like you have to keep reading if you want to make content about books. And then also just being vulnerable. I think with longer form content comes more vulnerability because people are just watching you speak for 15 to 60 minutes, and that can feel very vulnerable, especially as you share things that are as subjective as reading tastes and just things about yourself. But that's always something that I'm working on because I know that it's an area of improvement and something that I want to get better at. And because I know that there's so much beauty in being vulnerable, that it creates connection. And that's what being a person is all about, you know, being vulnerable. The meaning of life. You didn't know it before you started this video, but you know it now. 8th question, when did you start reading? I started reading in kindergarten from my memory, but I know my mom watches these, so if you have any different memories of when I started reading, please feel free to correct me. 9th question, where do you read? I like to bring my book with me wherever I go because I feel like that really creates space for me to read. And then if I find myself in a really long drive-through line or just with extra time to read, instead of going on my phone, I can pull my book out. So I literally bring my book to work every day in case I have free time, and then I never have free time. But it's there with me. Like it's almost a security blanket at this point, my paperback. I love to read in bed, before bed, in the morning too sometimes. I'll read when my alarm goes off if I'm like feeling not ready to face the day, just kind of like replacing it with scrolling as much as I can. I'm not perfect at it, I do scroll. My second favorite place to read is on planes because there's just no distractions. If you don't purchase the Wi-Fi, which I never do, it's like there's very little to do on my phone and I'm just there sitting in one spot, mostly quiet reading. And I think that that is just lovely. I live in Texas, so outside in the summer, like poolside or outdoors on a beach, amazing, great place to read. When I eat occasionally, so I like to have my book when I'm eating, but that's kind of 50-50. I'll do like reading or YouTube or Pinterest or something when I eat, but adding that in there. And then I also bring my book with me to yoga. Not to do during yoga, but in the car before yoga. Usually I have like a quick 10 minutes to wait because I like to be there early and get a parking spot. So I like to sit in my car and read before yoga. Because even when you just read a few pages here and a few pages there, it really adds up. And if you can couple a couple of 10-minute reading sessions with a 30-minute before bed reading session, that's a lot of reading. And I get through a lot of pages just with those additions to my life. So just making space for it and making it really convenient for myself by having my book with me makes me read in more places, but definitely my favorites are in bed and on planes. 10th question, I am flying through these, is what kind of books do you like to read? I love to read a variety and I don't really like to read the same genre back to back. I like to try to go from genre to genre so that I don't get tired of something or things don't start feeling too repetitive. So some of my favorite genres recently have been like literary fiction, especially that which involves a family dynamic, sisters, multiple generations. I eat that up. Fantasy, I've been getting into very recently and I love it a lot. Like Leigh Bardugo's Ninth House, I really liked. The Secret History, I guess that's not even fantasy, that's like dark academia, but I like that too. Circe, I'm trying to think of some really good ones that I've loved this year. The Caravel series, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So fantasy books, I've been exploring that genre more and I'm really excited to continue to do so in this calendar year. I like the occasional mystery, dystopian thriller. I used to read a ton of thrillers and I've kind of fallen off of that, but I sense a comeback. I like to also sprinkle in some romance, but most of the time when I do that, I'm disappointed in the romance. So I'm gonna really do my best this year to become more of a romance reader because I know that there is a lot of enjoyment to be had and a lot of great romance stories out there, and I would like to be involved. I'd like to be in that discussion. I would like to be a romance reader. So I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry and really loved that. That is a little bit about me, and I don't have that much else to say because I've been talking about myself for 19 minutes. This will probably be like a 10-minute video. If you're curious about anything else about me or my reading please feel free to ask in the comments. I love to chat with people, and I really appreciate you being here, watching, making it to the end of this video, and I am so excited to continue on this journey. Really excited to just use this as a place to sink into my hobby and fully enjoy a hobby that I hold near and dear to my heart, and hopefully share it with other people and connect with people in a different way. Piper, do you want to say bye? Come here. She does. This is Piper. She doesn't know how to read, but we love her anyways. And if she did know how to read, she would be too powerful. Say bye. She doesn't really understand anything. Except that she doesn't like when I hold her like that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.